Hey everybody, Kevin here from Invisible Insights. And in today's training, we are going to address the age-old question that's been asked for generations upon generations of anyone and everyone who has ever worked a job. And it's, how do I get a raise? We're titling this thing, Higher Ground, Moves That Will Make You Money. And we're going to talk about those moves in a second. But before we talk about the good moves, let's talk about some bad moves, because really, if you ask a lot of people about what it takes to get a raise, you get some really wild answers. And I did that one day in a coffee shop, and I got all kinds of weird replies. Let me just unpack a few with you that you don't want to do. So let's start with the do not do, dynamic here. And the first one is the whole idea of, I'm going to kick the door down and tell you I have a job offer from someone else, and I've been working for you for 20 years. And and you create all kinds of anxiety and a Chinese fire drill of what are we going to do, and you're just kind of like, I can take it or leave it, and there's this whole like circus around you at this point. And let me tell you something: whenever I go to a circus, I see clowns. Okay, you don't want to be a clown, because, and here's the thing we have to understand: you might have gotten a raise doing it that way, but you certainly didn't get favor. And we want a much bigger picture approach when it comes to getting a raise. We think so small sometimes. So the circus comes to town, and yeah, they buy a ticket, and at the end of the day, they're not happy with what they got. And it's you know how it is. You got the mirrors thing, and you got, it's pretty predictable in terms of what you're getting at the circus. No clowns, okay? So that's the first thing. We don't want to do the clown thing. Second thing is, we don't do the victim thing. The victim thing is, I can't pay my bills. I don't know how to do it. We start talking like the whiners off of Saturday Night Live. We got hypercephalitis. That whole thing of, I don't know how to pay my bills, and we have all this stuff, and it's going so high, and groceries are this, and yeah, I bought a pontoon boat last year, and I got to make the payment. Like, wrong answer. Like, that's victimhood. That is not an attractive approach to being able to do that. And so today we're going to talk about the two things not to do, which are those two, but we're going to talk about the one approach that I really believe really works. And I bumped into it years ago from a guy named Ramit Sethi, and I tried it, and it actually worked for me, and it was really good advice. And so I've kind of baked it and cooked it, and I really kind of, put it kind of in a way that I think translates really well for anyone out there who wants to, definitely get a raise. So I'm going to flip us over here, and we're going to dig into this thing. Okay, here we go. There I am. So basically what we have to understand is there are some key moves that we need to make. And the first move we want to make is, we want to send our boss an email. Okay. And the email is very clear. We're going to set a meeting to get with you and really discuss really what it takes to be a top performer. Basically, what can I do to make your life easier? What can I bring to the table that will help us learn and help us grow, help the organization excel and expand? And I want to be a player. I want to be someone who is the top of the heap when it comes to the energy and the attitude and the work ethic and the follow through and the communication, all those things. What are those things? And so, you got to set the meeting and send that email. Let me tell you something, how a boss is going to feel. A boss is going to feel, when they get one of those, they're going to feel like, wow, like, how many emails do I get like this from somebody? Now, again, they don't know it's going to be a conversation yet about a raise. Okay, they don't know that yet. You know that, but they don't know that yet. But but it's still a warm, fuzzy feeling for a business owner or for a boss to have one of their guys come and say, hey, I want to step up. I want to lead at a higher level, and I want to discuss what it takes to be a top performer. Then time comes in, you got your appointment, and we move into that next move, and it's the top performer conversation. Now, the cool thing is, it's an opportunity for you to really express yourself and your desire and your vision. But there's two parts of this. Notice there's this one, and if you look over to the right there's part two. Now, I want to make sure that there's a couple things we got to make a note of. So I'm going to highlight this real quick. So the biggest thing we got to make sure that we're doing here is we got to be ready, because sometimes your boss isn't going to have all the answers. Okay. And so we're going to come really prepared. And this is the parts that you really got to dial in on. It's so important because first of all, no one ever does this. Okay. No one comes in to have this conversation. So they're kind of sitting on their heels wondering how this is going to go, but they're kind of excited and encouraged by it. But at the same time, they're kind of going like, okay, well, we'll see how this rolls. So they're not so sure about what you're going to want from them, which is fair. Okay, that's cool. But I think if we open up the conversation with, hey, I enjoy my role. And here's the thing, I would like to know exactly from you, and be ready to take notes, exactly from you, really what it takes to be a top performer here. What are the elements of it? What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? What are the attitudes? What are the things that will help me set myself apart in the organization? And then you're gonna have a good conversation. He might struggle a little bit with that, but it's like, ask good questions. Be curious. Be a student in that moment, because that sincerity is important. Again, we're talking about playing chess, not playing checkers. We're talking about developing a career where you have long-term favor and the impact that you want to make in the organization. So with that said, we're doing our due diligence here, and we want to be a student. So you got to be all in here, okay? This isn't like give me 50 cents more an hour, okay? This is different. This is much more of a serious play. But then at the end of that, when you're done taking those notes, you can follow up with this question. Would that potentially put me in a higher pay scale? Would that potentially set me up to earn more and be more of a factor in the company? And 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you, not 10 out of 10, there's not a boss or a business owner who's going to go, no. It's not. No, any business where you add value as a top performer, they're going to want to protect you. They're going to want to put a fence around you. They're going to want to say, hey, yes, you know what? I can't make any promises. It's probably what will come out. But yeah, it would definitely be a strong consideration about what that is. Great. Then we move into part 2 of the second part of this. So we got part 2 here. Top performer, part 2. And then it's like, hey, I did some research, and this is where your pre-work comes in. Here are 3 things that I think that would make an impact. And here's 1, and here's 2, and here's 3. Here are 3 things that I think would make an impact. I know our goal is A, and I believe that doing these 3 things will improve A in a number of ways. And I'd like to work on this with your permission. I'd like to do this with your permission. And if it's okay, I'd update you every week or every other week, either in person or email, and I'll circle back with you in 6 months to see what the overall impact would that be and what that would have in our department or in our company or in our goals. Goal A, did it turn into a goal A++, whatever, that is the impact that you have laid out. Now, this is work here, kids. This is work, and this requires preparation. This requires sitting down ahead of time thinking like, hey, if I'm going to send an email to somebody and want to sit down about being a high performer, don't you think it's important that when it comes time to the conversation, I start behaving like one already? Think about it. It's important because as you sit down and you go, hey, these are 3 things that I think will make an impact. Let me tell you my story. My story was, these are my priorities that I think will improve our organization. Are my priorities your priorities? What are the things that you're doing? Here are my top 5. And he looked at me and said, well, you know what, Kevin? I think number 5 should be number 1. And here's why. I had no clue. But I then said, if in order for me to make 5 number 1, and for me to do that, what skills do you think and what outcome are you looking for from that? Then he leaned in. He was selling me to him at that point. Because then he was going, well, Kevin, you know what? If we could accomplish this, and if this outcome would happen, and this outcome, and that outcome would happen, that would be phenomenal. It would help me in achieving my goals. That would be big. Buddy, I couldn't write fast enough when he was doing that. because I knew exactly what I needed to target. So then I repeated back. So if I were to attack those 3 areas and really move the needle, would that position me, as a high performer and as someone that you might consider paying more money to in the future? And his answer to me absolutely was yes. You do that, we talk. I was, hey, I'm on it because I'm going to keep you updated. I'm going to follow up in 6 months. I'm going to let you know how it goes. And all of a sudden, I had a mandate. Now, I still had my day job and I still had grind things I was doing, okay? I had all kinds of grind stuff. In other words, the grind stuff is the day-to-day, the stuff you have to do. And then I had my other stuff that was like, hey, these are the needle movers. And I'm going to begin to start, adjusting how I do these things, how I attack these things so I can make a difference on those 3 priorities. So you have to be thinking about what your 3 things are. It can come in the form of priorities. It can come in the form of, hey, here are 3 things that I think we can do in our department that can be more efficient. There's a whole lot. If you're in manufacturing, there's a lot of 5S types of things that you could say, hey, if we were more organized, we could be more efficient. We could be able to increase our throughputs in our department. And if our department can increase its throughputs, we'll be more profitable. If we'll be more profitable, we'll be in position to earn more money. That works. And that's a good play. So think about this. Do this before you send an email about top performer conversation and talking about your compensation. Okay? So I'm just kind of throwing it your way, because once you've done that, then you got the big move coming. The big move is that next month. It's the 6-month email. Hey, I'd love to come in, sit down, and share with you the outcome of the work from the last 6 months. That's strong. And so there are 2 outcome dynamics that come out of this, right? Either you knocked it out of the park or you gave it a try. And this is what I've learned. Now here's the key here. And I'm going to throw this up here so we can look at this. Side note, you got to come prepared. You need to have everything on paper. You got to be prepared to answer questions, good or bad. You should go to, before you go into this meeting, to salary.com and see what others in your role make, just so that if the compensation numbers come up, you know what you're talking about, you know what ranges you're in, and what you could go for. And ask key coworkers too. If there was other things that, so let's say you knocked it out of the park and it impacted other people in a positive way. Man, if you say, hey, could you, jot down a note for me? Either I could take it to the boss or could you send an email on my behalf? Just some good words, And remember, you got to remember, these people are stakeholders in your success. It's good to bring them into your project and give them credit for their contributions as well, because if they benefit, there's a saying, all the boats rise in the harbor when the tide rises, right? Rising tide, all the boats go up. So yeah, you want everybody to be benefiting from that, because that establishes your influence in a powerful way in the bigger picture. So, but again, we're going back to outcome dynamics. So outcome dynamic 1, knocked it out of the park. Number 2, gave it a try. We come in prepared, okay? Either way, we're prepared. So let's say we knock it out of the park. We're gonna go over here. Whoop, we're gonna stick this right there. So, hey, the big ask is coming on this one. So if you're going into this one, hey, Mr. Owner, hey, boss, hey, based on the results, I'd like to revisit the pay scale conversation. I knocked it out of the park, and, I want you to understand, I wanted to ask for a raise, but I want to do it the right way. And I hope that you consider giving me an increase. I did go on salary.com, and I saw what others in my role are paid for. My hope is to be at that level, but also want to bring value in a way that I could match that in terms of how I work, and that it would match my increase, and that would be what I'm searching for. It's what I'm looking for, because my results here, and I want you to be dramatic with your results. We did this and we improved this. Again, be prepared on paper, answer questions. And as you answer the questions, you're going to say, hey, based on the results, I would like to revisit. I do feel like I've become a high performer, and I appreciate the opportunity. That's the ask. And let me tell you something. Isn't that so much better than the circus? Isn't that way, 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 way better than the whiners and the whole victimhood thing? Isn't it? Isn't this more strategic? And here's the deal. I got one more to go, because what if you don't, right? So let's go down here. Hey, here are my results. We didn't knock it out of the park. I was hoping to make a big impact. However, it didn't prove out in terms of, my liking. I've grown tremendously, though, in this, okay? And I'm going to continue to strive to be a high performer that we discussed in a previous meeting. My hope is to position to get a raise. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen this time. I'm going to continue to strive for better ideas that I can bring to you in the future. Is there anything in what I'm sharing with you that I could have done better or could improve on? Let me tell you something about this. And I don't care if you get this to memory, man. This is powerful because I will guarantee. I just believe there's not a boss with a conscience of a guy who gave it a real shot that wanted to be a high performer who didn't produce. It didn't happen because sometimes it doesn't. And then he walks out, and a guy goes like, "Well, he gave it to college try, and hopefully we don't lose him someday." Like, I think that boss is going to go, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to give him something. He's going to get some kind of raise." Because that's what a high performer would do when he doesn't win. See, you can lose and you can win. And people don't see that sometimes. They get so sucked into the small things. So much on a number. And they lose their minds over it. The truth of the matter is, it's all right here. You can win, you can lose, and you can still win. You can still win pretty big because at the end of the day, I'm going to write this out since we're all here. The invisible is favor. Favor is something that's very powerful and it's often unseen. And it comes from putting yourself out there and doing it the right way. And when you put yourself out there and you do it the right way and you lean into your skills and you lean into your abilities, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you knock it out of the park or you don't knock it out of the park, your value will go up in the eyes of those who lead you. And when your value is high in the eyes of others, they look out for you. They care about you because you care about them. That's expression came out in your time, in your energy, in your focus, and you're willing to go above and beyond without having money up front. Think about it. This is a powerful process. And if you lean into it, it will be super huge for you. And every new pivot you get, every new opportunity you get has another opportunity for you to send another high performer email. You don't just do it one time. If you get a promotion, you do it all over again. What does it mean to be a high performer in this role? What do you think? Trust me, he's going to get it the second time around. He's going to know that, hey, you are going to add value and want to be compensated with the level of effort and outcome that you're willing to put into it. That is big. So, one last thing. So as we wrap, you can't end this without a follow-up note. And all you need to do, win or lose, is thank them for the opportunity. You got to put the ball in their court as to whether they're going to give you a raise or not. And if they don't, maybe that's someplace you don't want to be. Maybe that's telling you something. And there's a level of wisdom that you gain in the process of doing this as well, in terms of where you want to put your energy and your focus and your achievement and your goals. But I'm willing to bet you make these moves, they're going to make you money. I really firmly believe that. And if you don't play around with it, if you don't manipulate it, because there's power here that you can develop in this. If you don't manipulate that and be dumb with it, and you guard it and you treasure it and you honor it and your character lives through it, the level of trust in you will go up. Lastly, write your follow-up, keep it short and sweet. It doesn't have to be anything long, anything big, just a simple thank you. And then let your work do the talking. Now, here's the addendum to that in terms of wrapping this up. I think it's really important that you don't go backwards. I'm going to say it again. You cannot go backwards. In other words, if it isn't the size of the raise you wanted or hoped for, or whatever, or if you don't get it, you didn't get the results, you didn't get the raise, but you got favor, and maybe you got an opportunity, that pays more money, which is that's a win. But again, it's not like a raise or whatever. Listen, you can't go backwards. You can't go, well, I gave it a college try. The other thing you can't do is bail on this halfway through. you'll definitely lose juice. So the important thing on the other side of this is you got to keep moving. Oops. You got to keep moving up and to the right, my friend. New levels. New levels. And you just got to keep working because it will find you. Favor does that. So I just want to encourage you, and I want to inspire you to really think in terms of the level of strategy that you can bring that can forever change the dynamics of your relationships with your boss at work. And that collaboration is powerful, and the outcome of that comes in a number of ways. It comes through influence, it comes from favor, and hopefully, a little change in your pocket, some extra fun money, to do something nice, and go on date nights and do nice things. Sure, that's good too. And let's just make sure it's a healthy collection in terms of growth and experience that propels you in your leadership and in your life. That is the game, my friends. So with that said, hey, you got to send me emails. If this is going for you, if you give this to college try and you give this a go, I want to know. And let me know if you need to be coached in it. If you're stuck on, the third part of this thing, shoot me an email, invisibleiinsights@gmail.com, or shoot me a text, 330-432-7001. I'll circle back with you and we'll put some strategy together and we'll figure this out. So stay after it. Hey, stay moving. And remember, when you see the invisible, you become unstoppable. Take care, everybody.